Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember, Context is Everything Media Network founder and CEO John Michael is watching a television program. Today, it's Twin Peaks. It's Twin Peaks Season 1, Episode 3, which is the fourth installment of the series pilot, Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. They're all over here. I've made them all. This is a viewing companion. The context is everything viewing companion for the program. Now, this first portion here just occurred in front of your eyes if you're seeing the pixelated picture. This is a nice little misunderstanding in a tense, a romantically tense scene here between uh, Cooper and Audrey Horne. Inappropriate. Let's admit that. But he says, Audrey, that rightward slant in your handwriting indicates a romantic nature. And to that, she responds in Gaga land. She says, I do? Which is a nice misunderstanding response to it. I find it to be a good detail, something that they do in this show a few times of a misunderstanding, and they just kind of roll through it because that's how speaking works in real life sometimes. Now, as Sheriff Truman enters the scene and Cooper is here to talk to him about his dream that he had last night, we get echoes of the International Pilot that I got to watch because I have the Blu-ray box set. So International Pilot comes back in this dream sequence that Cooper's talking about at this timestamp here that I have on this sticky note. He remembers so much about this dream, but he doesn't remember the most important thing. Also, keep that in mind. In the International Pilot, what occurs in this dream is, for the most part, reality. In the real show, as you're watching it now, in episode 3, it is all a dream. There's a little bit of an Easter egg for you. Here, a really interesting bit of dialogue as Albert Rosenfield tells Ben Horne that he has a rather irritating way of conducting himself that he's earned from being the wealthy guy in town. I find that to be a lovely statement that Albert Rosenfield makes, and that's just something that I appreciate in the show. Now, here you see the second time of invitation to love occurring in the show, but that's not the point of the sticky note. This is an unmentioned injection that's occurring into Leland Palmer's arm now. This is the third, I believe. I wasn't keeping track at the beginning, but now I'm interested. Unmentioned, so there's just no talk of injections that have occurred to the Palmer parents, and I just think it's an interesting bit of context to keep in mind for where these individuals' heads are at when they are on constant, regular sedative. And this is also when Maddie, the cousin of Laura Palmer, the niece of the Palmers, surviving Palmers, I should say, first enters the show, and this is an important scene in that regard. We're back at the Briggs household, Bobby and Major, and at 1646, you start to see their discussion about the events that will soon transpire at the burial of Laura Palmer ignite. Something that I appreciate about the scene also subtly is what Bobby Briggs is doing. We're playing with fire. He's literally playing with fire, feeling the heat, and seeing how long he can keep his hand over the flame. Playing with fire is what he's doing. Now, he's about to scream on camera when he's told to not be afraid. He's going to scream here, and he's going to say, afraid? I'm going to turn the thing upside down. I'm going to turn the thing upside down. And screams and slams the table. And honestly, my favorite part about this is uh not that I appreciate the chaos and confusion. It's that I like that the mother Briggs, we'll call her because I don't remember her name, comes in and immediately diffuses the situation by saying, "Everybody ready?" Really sweetly putting on her gloves with a smile on her face, which is something that she did earlier as well to diffuse tension before, which I just think is a nice, subtle thing in the tone of the show that I appreciate. I've watched the show 21 times. I'm telling you what I appreciate. If you enjoy what I'm saying, please subscribe. Thank you. If you enjoy what I'm saying, please like. Thank you. If you enjoy what I'm saying, please comment. And if you don't know what to comment, just comment the emoji of a quarter. Because it's like you're tipping me, but you're not tipping me. You're just giving the algorithm a tip, you know? Thank you. At 20 minutes and 7 seconds, Dale Cooper says one of the things that I appreciate most from his dialogue in the entirety of the show, which is diffusing the situation with Albert here. Because if you've seen the show, which you should have, because this is a viewing companion, you first watch the show, then you watch this episode. If you're watching Twin Peaks for the first time, or if your first time you're trying to critically watch it, that's how you do it. Watch the episode, then you watch this. You get a little bit more details. No spoilers, just context to what you're seeing here. Cooper's going to say something I really appreciate here when he's diffusing the situation of Albert saying, "Sign this paperwork. I'm going to report the sheriff to the FBI for for punching me in the face like an animal." And Cooper says, "I'm not going to do that." And before he gives his rationale, he says, "Albert, I hope you can hear me." I just think that that's a lovely thing to say to somebody. Here we are at the burial at 28 minutes. Johnny Horn says amen in the time that does feel appropriate to say amen if you're familiar with the responses in a church setting. Johnny Horn seems to kind of read it a bit right, but he's the only one who does that. This sets off a string of chaotic events, the next of which being Bobby Briggs screaming amen, and then going off on a diatribe, telling everybody that it's our fault. It's your fault for what happened to Laura Palmer, her death. We all knew. And then, as he says, "Save your prayers," James Hurley, in the next domino to fall in this chaotic bedlam of a burial, James Hurley attacks. Bobby Briggs obliges. And in the slow motion chaos of them being pulled apart by the law enforcement, just a little cinematic detail. Bobby Briggs, they show him getting torn away, and he says the phrase while in frame, "You are dead," while pointing. And that's in slow motion, so it's like kind of amplified. He's repeating himself, but the slow motion thing is just "You are dead." What a thing to say at a funeral. Next chaotic bit to occur is Leland Palmer to jump into the grave. And the next thing that you're going to see here is actually immediately following it, which is green, yellow, red lights. So at 30 minutes and 55 seconds, which is about to turn here, green light, yellow light, red light as you enter the Double R Diner. And the Double R Diner, you see a new perspective of here. A very warm evening in the Double R. Seems cozy. Not cozy what I'm seeing right now, which is really about the worst thing you could experience as a human being. But red light, green light, yellow light right over here. And there is significance to it that I'm not certain of. Here at the Double R Diner, the bookhouse begins to be discussed yet again. The bookhouse or rather for the first time, the bookhouse is discussed. And, there's talk of body language, there's talk of other themes, Cooper enjoying the pie and all that. Really lovely phrases, great scene. But an interesting thing occurs here that I want to point out from the pilot to here. In the pilot, you'll notice Big Ed Hurley and Hawk giving each other this symbol to indicate that they're going to protect James Hurley. They never mention what this means until right now, 3 episodes later. I appreciate that level of detail. Also, there's a bit of a contradiction. First, Harry Truman Sheriff says, there's been an evil in these woods as long as anyone can remember, and as long as anyone can remember, we've been here to stop it. The Bookhouse Boys. Then they arrive at the Bookhouse, which you can assume is like a half hour later in their time. And Harry Truman says, yeah, we've been here about 20 years. And maybe he's referring to this building itself, or maybe he's talking about the Bookhouse Boys in general. But, it could be a contradiction. I don't know. I'm just noticing it, so I'm telling you about it. At 37 minutes and 20 seconds, what we see is Leo Johnson leaving and Shelley Johnson arriving. And she has what I would assume she thought at the gun store was a cute gun, whether it is something she was sold by the salesman or something that she picked out herself. The gun does have some nice aesthetic, delicate, feminine details to it, and I think that it's a little bit humorous that she has a cute firearm. Now, as the episodes wind down, there's 3 mentions of death. Now, it makes sense in an episode that is centered around a burial. But first, talk of death is going to occur in a cemetery at 41 minutes and 30 seconds. And in this cemetery, that's going to be Dale Cooper talking to Dr. Jacoby, wherein they discuss. Jacoby says, I couldn't be there today. I'm a horrible person. He's paying his respects in the evening, as you can see. And he says, I hope that she can forgive me. She being Laura. So there's an implied existence of a soul here. And this implied existence of a soul that is going to be further discussed later on as Cooper speaks with Deputy Hawk, and Deputy Hawk mentions dream souls that wander. I forget what they're called. And also Josie Packard is talking about the plot to kill her by Ben Horn and Catherine Martell, who is the proprietor of the mill. Well, along with Josie, who is the proprietor of the mill. Now, one thing that I just realized as well is I think that it's important to keep in mind the mental state of Leland Palmer as he's dancing in this hall around 45 minutes. He's being sedated regularly, and so that's got to affect his brain, you'd think. So he's having a breakdown here. I'm just thinking, keep in mind the injections that are occurring, because maybe that is affecting him in this moment. So, again, this is a viewing companion. This is not meant to be a spoiler for anything in the future. This is for if you're watching for the first time or if you're returning and you want some extra details. Here's some stuff that I've noticed in 21 viewings of this program, and I'm just sharing them with you. If you appreciate this content, please like, please subscribe. As this episode ends, a red light peers in as the final thing that you see at 46 minutes on the nose. And that's really all I have to say about this one. Thank you. Goodbye, and God bless.